Good evening and welcome to tonight's call. I am excited to be welcoming you to the Executive Leadership Training here at ASEA. Today is Tuesday, April the 16th, and I am Karen Riley, the Regional Vice President of Sales here at ASEA. I have been with this organization for 9 years, and they have been the most exciting, most fulfilling, both personally and professionally, 9 years of my career. I am so excited to be sharing tonight's call with our president. Let me tell you a little bit about what this call is all about. Our executive leadership training calls are designed to introduce you to the people and principles guiding ASEA into the legacy company we all deserve. They are created to share leadership skills and tools that can build strong ASEA teams and local communities. And they are here to introduce you to qualities and characteristics that develop influence that can translate into effective leaders and leadership. We are here tonight to reinforce ASEA's commitment to believe, belong, and become. Because at ASEA, we believe that leadership is not only about income, it is about become. So let me tell you a little bit about tonight's speaker. His name is Jarom Webb. He is our president. Jarom has 15 years of experience in direct selling. He has led treasury, risk management, finance, and international development for an $800 million company. In fact, that's the same company that he and I worked for when we got to know each other. He has held senior financial positions with multiple multinational million-dollar companies. He has 5 years with one of the largest audit and consulting companies in the world. He has 9 years of service here at ASEA. And let me tell you that Jarom Webb is the reason that I am here. So much like you have been introduced to this organization by someone who cared enough about you to introduce you to something that might change your life, Jarom did the same thing for me 9 years ago. He is an incredible leader. He's a seasoned executive, and I'm so delighted and grateful to be working with Jarom every single day. With Jarom as our president, we are in good hands. He makes decisions every single day to ensure that we are here as a legacy opportunity. Jarom, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm so delighted to be sharing tonight's call with you. We are here to learn from you tonight, so take it away.
Karen, thank you so much. Man, what a great opportunity. What a privilege it is to be on the phone tonight with so many of our associates across North America and with you, Karen. I think this is a great forum for all of us to just get together and to really talk about things that are going to help us all become. I'm really grateful to be on the call, and I'm honored to be able to share a few thoughts with so many of our associates and friends in the United States and Canada and North America. Karen, I appreciate your leadership over our North America business. People have a tremendous amount of trust and confidence in your leadership. You do such a fantastic job, and I'm so grateful to be in this business with you and to have you as a friend and a colleague for so many years. It's amazing, folks. For those of you who don't know me, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have been with ASEA for over 9 years. I started when the company was just 6 months old. And boy, it's been an interesting and fruitful and exciting journey here at ASEA. But I really joined because I felt the connection to Vertus Norton, our founder. I felt a deep connection to the vision and the belief that Vertus had about taking this unique technology that I didn't understand. The first time I visited with him, I didn't understand what it was, but to take that technology and to be able to spread it throughout the world, that vision, that belief that Vertus had, I connected with that. And that's why I came to ASEA. I'll never forget the first moment I met him, and I heard him say the words, "I want to build a legacy. This is the legacy that I want to leave the world, is the legacy of this technology and this product." That really connected with me. And although I didn't understand all of the aspects of the business or the product or the technology, I felt that in that moment, that heartfelt, vision and belief that he had, and his why, his purpose, and I wanted to become a part of that. And that's part of what I wanted to share with you tonight. For those of you who don't know, this is a picture of my family. These are the 7 people that are the most important in my life. We actually had these 4 girls here, and then we tried one more time to have a boy, and we got twins there. There's Cam and Lizzie. We did get our boy, and he's a spoiled little kid, but we love him to death. And it's so fun to be in such a fun stage of life with our kids. As I've thought about tonight, and what I could share with you, I go back to some of my experiences that I've had in my career over the past 20 years. And all of these experiences, nearly every experience that I've had, I have been placed in positions that have been uncomfortable for me. I've been placed in positions and given responsibility that is beyond my ability at that time, that had really stretched me to the max, and asked to do things that frankly I wasn't necessarily even ready to do at that point. And my leadership, or my ability to learn how to lead and how to manage and how to persevere and push through, has been challenged in almost every position that I've had. And as I've contemplated and I've thought about those experiences, I don't think it's any different than any of us. I mean, all of us, regardless of what situation you're in, whether you're trying to build an ASEA business, you're trying to grow your ASEA business to the next level, you're trying to, manage a part-time ASEA business while managing a full-time job. I mean, all of us are placed in situations where we're being stretched and we're constantly being tested. And so I thought about this in the context of what can I share that would help our associates in this situation as you're tested and stretched. And I wanted to share really 3 leadership principles that I have executed, I have lived by, I have implemented in my own life, in my personal life and in my professional life, that have helped me tremendously to be able to stretch and progress my leadership to the max, and to assume the role and the responsibilities that are in front of me, and to be able to grow within that. And I found these to be very, very effective for me. And I don't want to spend a lot of time. I don't want to complicate this for you. These are really 3 simple leadership principles that I'm confident that if you employ in how you conduct your ASEA business and how you work in your professional and personal life, that these will help you to be a better person and a better professional, and help you progress and grow your ASEA business. The first one is what I call focusing on what matters most. I have to share an experience with you. When I was working for the largest, I worked for one of the largest audit and consulting companies in the world, and I was asked to go around and evaluate, audit, review businesses in all different types of industries. And I remember an experience I had. Of course, in those environments, they're very cutthroat environments where you've got the sharpest, smartest people coming out of a business school that are going into these practices. And so it's a very cutthroat environment. And I remember an experience where I was out at a client, and this was a company that was a $4 billion company. And our team was asked to go in and evaluate that business on a number of different levels. And part of the methodology for us going in and evaluating a business was we had to first assess their financial systems, and we had to determine what was called a materiality threshold, where we had to determine, okay, what is the threshold, and it was a number, This was the number where everything above that was material and important, and everything below that wasn't. And of course, I'm a brand new, out of school. I'm in this environment. I come into this, group, and I'm at this client, and I'm asked to work on certain things. And I remember a specific experience where I was asked to work on a group of accounts in this business. And I spent literally the better part of 2 weeks on this one specific area, auditing, reviewing, assessing, digging deep, spending tremendous amount of mental and energy on what I was doing. And I remember getting all this work together, and here are the adjustments that I was going to propose for this business. And I took them to the consulting partner that was on the engagement. And he looked at this information, this assessment that I had done, and he said, Jarom, this isn't material to what we're trying to do. It doesn't meet that materiality threshold. And so we're not going to worry about that. I need you to focus over here. And I was really upset. I mean, that was one of those moments where I was like, man, I had spent all this time and energy on something that ultimately didn't matter. And he was right. It really ultimately didn't matter what I was working on to the grand scheme of the business and what we were doing in our assessment. And so, he introduced me to this concept of what's material versus immaterial. And he said, look, this is not material to the business, and so don't worry about it. And I thought about this concept. I've thought about that. That experience has really stuck with me and been a guiding principle, not only in my professional career, but also in my personal life, about this concept of what is material and what is not material, what is immaterial, what is important, what are the things that matter most in life, what are the things that are going to help me to accomplish the objectives and the things that are important to me in my life or in my professional career, and what's not. And being able to evaluate constantly as a professional and as a person how you're spending your time, how am I spending my time in determining what's focusing on things that are material to my life, material to what I'm doing, so that I'm spending my time in the right places. This is one of my favorite quotes by Peter Drucker. He said, until we can manage time, we can manage nothing else. And so, this question of how can we manage our time, the time that we have, which is precious, to focus on what is most important, what is most material in our life, whether it's in our business or whether it's in our personal life and the relationships and the things we cherish most. Well, I wanted to introduce you to a concept related to this that has been a guiding, that really is something that I've focused on and I've used in my career over the years. And it's a concept that was introduced into as one of the 7 habits of highly effective people by Stephen R. Covey. And this is something that's had a powerful impact on my own personal life and professional life. Stephen Covey introduces, and I think this concept was originally developed by Dwight Eisenhower, President Eisenhower, way back in the day, and he called it the Eisenhower Matrix. And it was really this matrix of how we spend our time. Stephen Covey then took that and kind of flushed that out into his book. But what he talks about is he talks about this matrix and this scale, and he breaks down how we spend, or how we should spend our time, in one of 4 categories. And you can see this scale in which he does that. And it's a scale from urgent to non-urgent, from not important to important. And he breaks it down into 4 quadrants. And he talks about the first quadrant is things that we spend our time on that are important and urgent. The second quadrant he talks about is things that we spend our time on that are not important, but that are urgent and are in our face. The fourth quadrant he talks about is things that are not important and not urgent. The second quadrant, and really the most important, is the things that we spend our time on that are important but not urgent. So if you think about each of these quadrants and you evaluate it through what goes in that bucket in terms of how we spend our time, quadrant 1 This could be things, a crisis that comes up, something that's really urgent and really important to deal with. It could be a pressing problem that we have, a deadline that we have, in terms of a project we're working on, an operating priority that's urgent, that's staring us in the face. And we spend a lot of time in this quadrant where things that are urgent and things that are also important. Quadrant 3, these are the things that, frankly, these could be things like needless interruptions that we have, right? Unnecessary, things that we're doing, reports that we're reviewing, things that we're doing in our business, meetings, phone calls, emails that maybe are not important, and that appear to be urgent, right? It could be somebody else's issue or problem that we're dealing with. In quadrant 4, you've got this concept of you've got trivia, you got busy work, you've got these irrelevant calls or emails. This is the concept of wasting time, maybe excessive TV or social media, internet usage, that type of stuff. And then he talks. Stephen Covey talks about quadrant 2, and this is what I call kind of the material quadrant. This is the stuff that's important but isn't necessarily urgent, isn't staring us in the face, isn't requiring action on our behalf right now. But this is where the value is created. This is where the material things are. It's the planning and the preparation around how we achieve our goals and objectives in life. It's the how do we prevent certain situations from happening and put things in place that are going to do that. It's building relationships with the people that matter most to us. It's clarifying our why and our values. It's those types of things that are truly important and material to our lives, but maybe not urgent and staring us in the face. Stephen Covey talks about, he kind of names each one of these quadrants. Quadrant 1, he calls, these are necessary items. These are urgent and important items that we have to get to. Quadrant 3, he talks about it as being, this is the deception quadrant, where we're working on things that just aren't important and aren't material to our overall lives, but maybe urgent, or we feel they're urgent and demand time and attention. He names quadrant 4, not important, not urgent, as waste, right? This is the wastage that happens in our life. And then he talks about this concept of leadership, where leadership is born, where leadership is truly done, is in quadrant 2, where we're focusing on things that are important, maybe not super urgent or staring us in the face, but things that are going to matter most for our short, mid, and long-term success as we look to the goals that we're trying to achieve. So this is the bucket that what I would call, this is the material stuff that matters. And, I think that we can find ourselves, all of us can find ourselves in this spin cycle where we're spending all of our time in 1, 3, and 4, and not enough time in quadrant 2, which ironically enough is the most important and the most material to our ultimate success. And I know that I've found myself over the years in this spin cycle. And so you're constantly having to have, I'm constantly having to have what I call kind of the step back moment, where I'm stepping out of quadrant 1, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, and I'm reevaluating, I'm regrouping as a leader, and I'm dedicating time to spend time on those important matters that are going to be critical and that allow me to focus on what matters most. What Stephen Covey talks about is, he says what we all should be doing is managing quadrant 1, right? Because clearly there are things that are going to come up that are important and urgent that we have to deal with. Minimize quadrant 3, right? Avoid quadrant 4, and really focus and prioritize quadrant 2. So as we kind of think about this simple model, I think it's important that all of us kind of step back at times and look at what our goals and priorities are. What do we want to accomplish with our ASEA business? What do we want to accomplish with our relationships in our families and in the things that matter most in our personal life? And we need to then constantly be evaluating how we spend our time. Are we spending our time focused on those things, or are we spending our time in 1, 3, and 4 and not allowing ourselves to develop the planning and the preparation and the things that matter most to achieve our goals and success? So this is one concept that I think is important for all of us to consider and manage, and it's been one of the most important things that I've implemented. And I'm not perfect at it either, believe me. This is something I constantly have to manage, but it's one of the things that if we'll keep in the back of our minds, this is very, very important to focus on what matters most. The second leadership principle that I wanted to share with you tonight was this concept of keeping things simple. I had a friend of mine who I was chatting with the other day, and he was telling me about an experience that he had when he was a teenage kid, and he worked in a bike shop. And what was interesting about this experience is that they were all compensated based on, at this bike shop, they were sales guys, and all the sales folks were compensated based on how many bikes they sold. And he started working at this bike shop, and he was kind of companions, if you will, colleagues with this other guy. And after the first couple of months on the job, he hadn't sold a single bike. And yet his colleague that was basically, selling from the same group of bikes had sold 5 bikes in that period of time. And he couldn't figure out why. He couldn't figure out why he kept selling bikes. And my friend who was telling me this experience, he said, I knew everything about that bike. I knew the type of components, I knew the parts, I knew the brands, I knew what worked, what didn't. And he said, what I realized, to make a long story short, what I realized is that every time a customer would come in, I would literally throw up on that customer and tell them everything about this bike that they could possibly know, about the gears, about the components, about the all the different features of the bike. And they would leave confused and not really understanding, what they had just heard, right? The guy that was selling next to me, it was so interesting. He was telling me he used to tell the customer would ask, is this a good bike? And he would say, yes, this is a good bike. In fact, this is the best bike. He said, does this bike have good gears and good components? Yes, the brand of the components is top notch. They're good components. I mean, he literally took it that simple. And it was this concept of 95% of people were okay with something that simple. And the 5% he went deeper with, and he sold more bikes. And that was an interesting concept that we were chatting about it. And I think it kind of goes back to this concept of keeping things simple. Our effectiveness as leaders skyrockets when we keep things simple. How we approach explanations, how we approach the business, how we communicate, keeping things simple for folks. I can't tell you how many boardrooms that I've been in with very smart executives and senior leaders of companies, and their eyes glaze over when I get into too many details or I don't simplify what I'm saying. So even at that level with very, very sharp, people, generally what I've found is people's ability to absorb complexity significantly diminishes, and you have to keep things simple and to the point. I've been in this network marketing industry now, our profession, for the better part of 15 years. And I've met a lot of leaders in this industry. And every time I meet leaders, I always like to ask the question, what is the secret? What are your secrets to success in network marketing? One of the most common secrets to success that I hear from leaders in this industry is they've learned to simplify the business. This is about creating very simple daily habits and daily methods for people, average people, to be able to engage in as they come into the business. When they have new distributors join the organization, they have them join and do something very simple to replicate or to duplicate the behavior that is going on to help them start. When it comes to operation and daily habits, they create very simple daily methods of operation. They don't complicate things with too many layers. They provide simple sort of step-by-step, processes and things to follow. The top earners in this business that I've found, they don't allow complication to come in. They can almost smell it. And when they smell complication coming into the business, they tend to reject it, and they tend to get down to what are the simple essence of how to be successful in network marketing. Frankly, I've found the same thing to be true in the corporate world, and on the corporate side, it's no different. In business generally, I've found that as we keep things simple in terms of how we communicate and how we approach things, that it's going to be more effective and better for everybody. So my encouragement to you as you look at this is to really keep things simple in your business. And I think your upline leaders can help with this. I think your teams can help with this. But this business is not necessarily about what you do. It's about what you duplicate. It's about how do we get 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people to duplicate very simple things to be able to build the business. I was in Dallas over the weekend, and they were talking about the simple concept of, it's not about you talking and knowing everything about ASEA and how to explain the products. It's about you sharing tools or introducing people to other people that can very simply explain. But it's not necessarily about you becoming the expert. It's about you being able to duplicate and share other tools that can do the talking for you. Keeping things simple is something that matters in this business. The third concept that I want to talk to you about that has really made a difference in my leadership is the power of why and sharing your story. The concept of understanding your why you're doing what you're doing. What is your purpose? What is your vision? And what are your core beliefs? And then translating that into your personal story, and then sharing that stories with others in a meaningful way. A lot of people, Simon Sinek, which I know many of you have heard, he talks about this concept that if people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And yet a lot of people follow this approach, right? They talk about the what and the how, and then they get to the why. When in reality, the concept is starting with your why and moving out to how and to what. Really, ultimately, it boils down to what are your core beliefs? Why are you doing ASEA? Why are you doing and engaged in anything that you're passionate about? Develop that why, and then being able to articulate that belief and that why and painting context for people as you communicate with them. People will feel your purpose. They will feel your why, and they will want to align with you if you can help to communicate that. Virtus, when I met Virtus for the first time, Virtus wasn't selling me into ASEA. Virtus wasn't, trying to strong arm me into coming into the company or trying to offer. All Virtus was doing in that moment when I met him was he was telling his story of how he had developed this technology and brought it to market. And he was communicating that story with passion, with belief, to where I could understand the why behind what he was doing. He was doing it because he wanted to build, he had a vision and belief to build a legacy business to bless the lives of millions of people with this technology. He believed fundamentally that this technology could help people. He was communicating his why and his belief through the power of his story. And I could feel that. And I naturally then wanted to align myself with that why. You don't have to be a master communicator, or you don't have to be this master articulator where you're articulating very gracefully your story in a way that you don't have to. People need to feel your passion. They need to feel your belief in your heart, and they need to understand your why as you do it. We talk about in this business, facts tell and stories sell. And that's true. The concept of really beginning with your why and then taking that why and creating a story, your story, and sharing that with people, that's what's going to draw people to you as you go throughout your ASEA business. This is kind of a funny little thing. I mean, we could apply this to our ASEA business, right? Does it show our unique selling proposition? Do we have the story, the PowerPoint presentation around the product? Is it branded? Do we have a list of benefits on the products in the business? Is the packaging done? Are we on social media? And then at the very end, it's like, what's the story? Well, I'm not sure yet. The reality is, I think we have to keep things simple and really point back to our why and sharing our story, which is going to really attract and align people. This is one big focus for us folks this year in 2019 and beyond, is what is our story? What is the ASEA story? What is it that we're doing for people all over the world? And it's a message that we've been sharing aggressively for the past 90 days. And it's a message we'll continue to share. And you'll hear a big piece of this at convention as we roll forward into September, is the ASEA story, which is really embodied in our vision statement of providing life-changing products, financial opportunity, and culture, where we can take a complete cellular health, and we're the only company that offers complete cellular health with both the labor and the materials on both the skincare and the internal side, married with a very powerful network marketing compensation opportunity and a unique timing, married with a very unique culture where people are believing, belonging, and becoming together, all against the backdrop of this legacy company that's profitable, that's sustainable, that's been in business for almost 10 years and is past that startup risk phase, that has the infrastructure that's ready to grow and support you as associates. That's the story. That's the story. And frankly, if you look at these three words, right, that's also our vision. Our vision is to take everything that ASEA has become and help people create the life that they want to live. This isn't about us creating a life that helping you create the life we define for you or we think you want to live. What matters to you most? What is the life you want to create? Let ASEA be the vehicle to help you create that life through our products, financial opportunity, and culture. But this concept of story, this concept of our why, we exist to better people's lives and help people create the life they want to live through our products, financial opportunity, and culture. That why and our story is something that we as a company want to get much more aggressive about telling the world, because we have the most compelling story in the entire profession of network marketing. So I just want to summarize this, that these are leadership principles that I promise you, if you will, you'll go to school on and be able to implement and focus on in your personal, your professional life. They will make you a better person. They will make you a better leader. They will make you a better professional. Focusing on what matters most, really defining what matters to you, what are your goals, what are your objectives, and then really managing your time in those quadrants to make sure you're allocating enough time to plan and prepare for what is material and what matters most in your life to achieve your goals and objectives, keeping things very simple in terms of how you approach life, other people, how you communicate, particularly around this business, and understanding your why, defining your why, and then sharing that with people through your story, painting context around that. If you'll focus on these things, I promise you, you'll be a better person and a better professional. It certainly helped me in my career and in my life. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share these things with you. And I appreciate and I'm grateful for all that you guys have done and all you guys continue to do for ASEA. We are behind you 100%. This business is moving forward like it never has before. And we are 100% committed to our vision of taking ASEA and spreading it throughout the world. And you are a critical part of that. In fact, you are the heart and soul of that. miracle, and we understand that, and we're behind you 100%. So thank you for letting me take some time with you tonight, and I'll go ahead and turn it back to Karen.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jarom. As I said in the beginning, we are in good hands with a leader like you. I absolutely love the message that you shared tonight. I hope that our audience did too. In fact, I know they did. Let's go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about what happens next. So these calls have been recorded on your behalf. The Executive Leadership Training call takes place the third Tuesday of every month. The first Tuesday is our In Touch call, where we do recognition. We have special guests. We release new ASEA stories. The second Tuesday is a product-focused call, where we focus either on ASEA Redox or Renew Advanced or ASEA Via. And then the third Tuesday is this executive leadership training. All three of these calls take place at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can log in at ASEAintouch.com, provided that you have Zoom downloaded on your computer. And again, these calls have been recorded on your behalf. They will be posted within 48 hours to the ASEA YouTube channel. If you have not yet subscribed to the ASEA YouTube channel, you want to do that tonight so that you don't miss any of these incredible calls that we post. All right, well, let me tell you what's going to happen on our next executive leadership training call. We have one of my mentors, Justin Wilson. He is the Senior Vice President of Global Sales here at ASEA. I believe he was the number 3 person that joined the team here at ASEA. He has been with this organization for 10 years. He was literally born into network marketing, and he is going to be sharing our next executive leadership training message with you on May 21st at 7 p.m. And again, you can join us by visiting ASEAintouch.com. Well, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this message as much as I did. We will see you next time. Thanks for being with us tonight.